Welcome to Fuel Motivation. For more videos from your favorite public speakers, be sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications.
When you're stable, you can go fast because you're not worried about judgment. I've been able to do a lot of things because I'm not scared to lose. Because if I lose, it's my loss. If I lose money or time, it's my loss, not yours. I don't care what you say in the comments. That lack of fear is what gives an entrepreneur an advantage. That lack of fear is what lets somebody live life in happiness. We have to start having more important conversations of the operating system of your life. There are people here that work more on upgrading their phones than upgrading their minds. I mean it. I mean it. I am desperate. Listen, to come here all this way to talk about tactics is a waste of time. To come all this way and have one person in here gain actual courage to do something is super worth it. And for me, it's a very simple game. Let me give a very big secret to all the kids here who are living their lives for their parents or based on their parents' judgment. There's a very big secret that parents never tell you. If you go the other direction of where they want you to go and you become really successful, they are really proud and make pretend they never pushed you in the other direction. The number one thing I fear and the number one thing I learned, and this is very interesting to me, I'm gonna tell you a story I don't tell a lot. When I was a little kid in Edison, New Jersey, when grandparents came over, I would go play with the grandparents a lot. Maybe it was because I lost 3 of my 4 grandparents as a kid, but even as I get goosebumps right here on stage, it's because I think I've always been filled with a lot of wisdom and old soul. It's just DNA. It's nothing I did, it's just been in me. But I was always gravitating towards old people my whole life. I mean really old. You know, I'm 7, 8 years old, I see an 80-year-old, I run over, sit next to them, and talk. My whole life, I loved it. My whole life. And the number one thing I learned in the first 20 years of my life, spending more time with old people than most kids, is the biggest thing I fear is regret. Regret is scary. Resentment is very scary. The biggest reason I push kids to do what they want versus what their parents want is because I'd rather them and their parents have 5 or 6 or 7 years of bad than 80. Because it gets very ugly when you're 60 and they're 80 and you lived your life based on what they wanted and now you resent them. It gets real ugly real fast. I would rather you have the pain for the next 5 or 6 years of fighting and then have one of 2 things happen, which I think both are amazing. Number 1, you were right. You were right, and you are an amazing fashion designer, not an engineer, and you built a real company, and your parents are gonna be very, very proud. Or, you were wrong. You suck at fashion design. Nobody liked it. But at least for yourself, you never have to live the rest of your life asking yourself, what if? You win both ways. You live in a culture, I know, I watch. You live in a culture with a lot of expectations. You live in a culture where parents treat their kids as a property that indicates who they are. So does most of the world. This is not a Southeast Asia thing. This is not a Indonesia thing. This is a world thing. Parents are insecure too. And they like their kids closing their gap. We have to start talking about this. Because now that it costs $0 to start a Spotify podcast, now that you can do that at 9 p.m., now there's nothing left. In 1974, not having money and time was an excuse. In 2019, it is not. And so the only thing left is this. Not this, this. And so I come here today begging, not pleading, not asking, begging you to look yourself in the mirror tonight and ask yourself if you're happy. And people always say, I don't know what my passion is. I don't know what I would do. Yes, you do. You do. You just don't think it would work. You think it's too small. You think it's too silly. You think people would judge you. You know. You're just scared to say it. You know exactly what you would do if you could do it every minute of your life. You may not right now. As I'm saying this, you're like, no, I don't. Gary, I don't. It's because you haven't even allowed yourself to look. This is the time to build businesses and profiles and content around what you enjoy. This is the time. This is the time. And waiting one more day makes no sense to me. So whether you use the momentum of the energy we created today or something else, please don't get older and regret. Please don't watch this exact video on whatever YouTube is in 35 years. Do you know what I watch every day? I watch people see a video clip of mine on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook or what have you, leave a comment that was the clip that was changed their life, right? It feels very nice. Oh my God, this just changed my life, I'm gonna do it. But I'm weird. You know what I do? I follow them. I will go and look and see 6 months, 9 months, a year later if they did anything about it. And 99% don't. There's a lot of people in this room right now that said, this is it, I'm going to. And then in 2.5 weeks, all the energy is gonna be gone. One of the biggest reasons I produce so much content is I used to speak a lot, but then there wasn't as much content, so I thought, okay, maybe if I put out content 8 times a day, it can get them going. I've come to learn, and I very much believe this, I was gifted and parented very well that allowed me to actually not care about other people's opinions. I respect them. I never think I'm always right. This is not about thinking you're right. This is not about me being delusional or audacious. This is me understanding that if you judge me, you don't have all the context. You don't know me. So how do I know you? I don't. Even the person closest to you, a spouse, a parent, they don't know. Nobody knows. So why would you take somebody else's opinion over your own? Please, my friends, don't live a life that gets you to 80, 90, 100 years old where you're sitting there and saying, I wish I did, I wonder if I did. Nobody at 90 years old, go find your oldest relative and go take them out to lunch and ask them, just like this, talk to me about life. They will not talk to you about what they did. They will talk to you about what they did not do. They will talk to you about what they wish they did. Don't wish. They had an excuse, your grandparents, your great-grandparents. It wasn't practical. You couldn't do what we can do. This didn't exist. Oh. This did not exist. Please take advantage. Please take advantage of this existing. This is the greatest era to be alive. It is. There's plenty going on in the world, plenty going on in my country, plenty going on in the world. But when you look at the macro data, this is the greatest time to be alive, and you happen to be living in a great place for my thesis. You live in a place where this country lives its life here. And the cost for you to enter it and do something for yourself and your family, $0. $0. I do not want to hear that you don't have money. I don't want to hear that somebody else is further along, because nobody else's life matters. This is an inside game. Inside. Start making content. Start talking to the world about what you either like or you know. Do it every day. Close your eyes for 5 years. Not how are you doing in 5 days, not how you're doing in 5 months, 5 years. Everything on the platforms, you know. You know which ones people use, you use them, your friends use them. You don't need that information. Are you self-aware about your skills? But leaning into what you're interested in and producing content has never been more practical. And I implore you to take advantage of this very special time, because you have one life. You might as well live it.